New year, new manga. Come along with me as I talk about a lot of the notable new releases that are coming out in January of 2024. Welcome to the first Manga Buyer's Guide of 2024. There are a lot of exciting new manga coming out this month, and I am so pumped to be able to talk about them with you in this video. A lot of stuff that I'm excited about personally, and I'm hoping that you'll get excited about as well. As always, keep in mind that I'm not covering the entire calendar of releases that are coming out throughout the month. I am focusing just on what I consider to be notable new releases, which mostly focuses on newly debuting titles. So new volume 1s, new single volume releases, some new special edition releases if they're coming out, box sets, stuff like that. And if I can, I do talk about some final volumes, though I do miss a lot of those sometimes. And if there's a final volume of a series that's coming out in this month that I miss, feel free to mention it in the comments down below. But I just want to cover that, so if you're watching the video and you're like, gee, why didn't he mention volume 6 of that popular shonen manga that everyone is reading right now? I didn't forget to mention it. I left it out by design because that's not what this is focusing on. The purpose of these videos is to make sure that you as a manga reader and as a manga collector are aware of all the new releases that are coming out, because there are so many new titles coming every week that it's very easy to let something just go right past you that could possibly be your next favorite thing. And it is my goal to help you to find your possible next favorite manga series. As well, I want to mention that all of the dates that I'm giving here are the official dates according to Amazon, but some things come out early, some things will get delayed. That's just the nature of the beast. It's been that way forever. And as well, one last point before we get into talking about 5 weeks of great new manga releases. If you happen to be on Twitter, you can follow me at OmniCollector, and if you pick up any of the books that I mention here, especially if you did not know about them, you wouldn't have picked them up otherwise, it would go a long way if when you get the book, you take a picture, tag me, tag the publisher, let them know that you picked it up because you saw it in my video. Now let's get into it. We got 5 weeks of new manga, and here's some stuff that came out this week on the 2nd. We're starting off from One Piece books with Hinamatsuri volume 19. This is the final volume of that series. One of, if not the absolute longest running title that One Piece books has. I know it's one of their most popular releases, so big deal to see them wrapping that series up. Next up, we have from Seven Seas, A Cat from Our World and the Forgotten Witch. Now, this one has a setup that sounds kind of similar to Frieren, in which we follow someone who's defeated an evil demon king decades ago, but she's a human witch who's aged into an old woman who lives alone in a secluded forest, and she accidentally summons a giant cat from an Earth city, so from our world, to her home. But this cat, which was a normal street cat here on Earth, is now a giant cat in this series. And then we have Marriage Toxin coming from Viz Media. It's the newest one in the Shonen Jump line, about a master assassin who's an expert in poisons and is assigned to get married so that he can produce the Poison Clan's next heir, but he knows nothing about dating. Luckily, a marriage swindler who knows everything there is to know about love is there to help him, even if they have to take on the entire criminal underworld to help him find a partner. And we end the first week with a delayed release from last month, Poetry of Ran from Titan Books, I believe. This one looks really cool. It's a fantasy series where a bard is writing poems about Ran, this hero, or no, Ran is the bard. The hero is fighting monsters, and Ran is writing poetry and stuff as a bard about the exploits of the hero. Now, this book, I don't know what the official release date is because it's not on Amazon and it is also not on Crunchyroll.com, but from Starfruit Books, we have Panorama of Hell. They did send me a copy of this one. I don't know if it's an early copy or not, but it looks like through their website, starfruitbooks.com, you can order this, the cover price at $17. This is first of all, it's a horror series, or it is a horror book from Hideshi Hino. If you're unfamiliar with Hino, but you're a fan of horror manga, you really need to be getting on these books. Starfruit has put out, I believe this is the 2nd Hino release from them, and they do have plans for more coming in the future. Very exciting for horror fans, and this is a great release from them. They've done a great job with this volume. It's a larger trim size than they typically have for their releases, and it does have French flaps on the inside. It has a matte cover, nice thick stock for the cover, and the interior paper is fantastic as well. It's a really well put together volume, and again, horror fans, you do not want to miss this one. Pick up a copy from starfruitbooks.com. And thank you so much to Starfruit for sending me one. I haven't gotten a chance to read it just yet, but I am very excited to get into it. Moving on to the second week, on the 9th, we start off with a release from Viz Media, Pokemon Adventures Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. This is the full volume edition. The way, if you're not familiar, the way that Viz does the Pokemon releases, they start with these 5-volume, like half-volume editions, and then they release them later in these full $10 volumes, but now the price has hiked up to $11.99 each. This is the first of 3 that follow the 3 Hoenn Pokedex holders as they help stop the crisis of a meteor hurtling towards their home. There will be 3 of these volumes, and then I'm gonna say maybe by the end of this year, we should get into the next series, which is going to be Sun, Moon, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. I think there are 6 volumes of that one, and then there are 7 volumes of Sword and Shield, and that would bring us then to the currently ongoing Pokemon Adventures series in Japan, which of course is Scarlet Violet, which started in August of 2023. All right, moving on to a couple of 7 Seas books. We start off with White Mage Doesn't Want to Raise the Hero's Level. This is an ecchi isekai fantasy about a character who is summoned into another world and meets the level 20 White Mage Sheena, who immediately falls in love with him. However, once he completes this quest, he will be transported home, so Sheena decides that she's going to dress lewdly so that he can't pay attention to his battles and won't level up. Then we got Soloist in a Cage Volume 3. This is the final volume of this noir fantasy type series that I highly recommend. I've loved the first 2 volumes. If you haven't checked it out yet, I recommend it. It is only 3 volumes, so it's not a huge commitment. Then from Digital Manga Publishing, or DMP, we have Romeo. This is a BL that follows Koyo, a lichen with extremely potent pheromones that allow him to seduce any beastman except for Jade. When he tries to seduce Jade, he refuses to give in, so what will Koyo have to do to have Jade fall for him? And then we end the second week with another BL from Sublime, Daisy Jealousy. This is a single volume BL about a video game designer who meets a rival who is better than him in almost every way, and then a romance buds between them. Moving on to the 16th, this is the middle week of the month. We start off with a really exciting one, something that's one of my most anticipated this month, Tokyo These Days from Taiyo Matsumoto. If you know me, you know the channel, you know that I love Taiyo Matsumoto and all of his works, and we have a new one coming from him this month. This follows Kazuo Shiozawa, who's just quit his job as a manga editor after 30 years, but he's drawn back into the world of manga due to a creator he used to edit for who refuses to work with anyone else. The series ended in Japan last summer with a total of 3 volumes, so I don't know what the release schedule is going to be on this one in English, but I would suspect that we might see the last volume by the end of the year. And they've been giving a lot of focus to Taiyo Matsumoto, so we do have more of his stuff, such as the reprint of Go-Go Monster coming out later this year, and I would expect that we get more Matsumoto announcements as we go forward. Also from Viz's signature line comes Steeled Celestial Shadows. This one follows a down-and-out samurai in the 19th century who's under a curse that distorts any metal that gets near him. It's said that a samurai's spirit rests in his sword, but with his curse, Konosuke can't even pick one up, so he decides to end it all. However, a mysterious and beautiful woman saves his life and soul, beginning Konosuke's journey into a magic world. This one sounds great. The artwork looks fantastic. I'm very excited to get into it, and I've got a big one that's wrapping up from the Viz signature line this month, Golden Kamuy Volume 31. If you know me, you know that this is one of my favorite series. I love Golden Kamuy so much, and we're finally getting the last volume, Volume 31. This series has absolutely everything in it: action, comedy. It's a gourmet series with a lot of like food-related stuff. It's got adventure, it's got drama, it's got violence. Anything you could want in a manga, Golden Kamuy has it. Just be aware of the fact that it is very mature, and it does have a lot of mature situations in it. Sometimes situations played off for comedic sake, but I love Golden Kamuy, and if you haven't gotten into it yet, final volume's coming out this month, and it is the perfect time to jump in. Then we've got a new omnibus from Kodansha, King in Limbo Omnibus Volume 1. This is the first of 3 omnibus editions collecting this story that takes place 8 years after a sickness known as the Sleep took the lives of millions. A procedure that involves diving into patients' memories ended the pandemic, but the sickness has returned, and now Petty Officer Adam Garfield must forego retirement to coax back the mysterious man known by codename King, who helped to cure the sleep the first time around. Then also coming from Kodansha is Gachiakuda. This is one I know a lot of people are looking forward to. Comes from a former assistant of Atsushi Okubo, the creator of Soul Eater and Fire Force. This story takes place in a floating town where the rich cast their trash off the sides into an abyss. We follow Rudo, who lives in the slums of this town and is wrongfully convicted of murder, leading to him being exiled from the floating town into the abyss where humans cast off waste that has bred into vicious monsters. In order to attempt to get vengeance on those who cast him off, Rudo must master a new power and join a group called the Cleaners, who battle the monsters. That one sounds fantastic. I can't wait to read it. I know a lot of people are very excited about that one. It's probably one of the biggest releases of this month. Another one from Kodansha is Shaman King Flowers Volume 6. This is the final volume of this sequel series to the original Shaman King that follows Yo and Anna's son, Hana Asakura. If you're a fan of Shaman King, this feels just like going back to the classic series. It's a lot of fun, and an anime adaptation is coming out pretty soon. At 6 volumes, it's pretty short, so fans of the series, jump on in, grab that one. It's a perfect time to get it with it wrapping up this month. Then from 7 Seas, we've got a single volume BL called Love a Kitten and a Salty Dog, about a veterinarian who works near the entertainment district who falls for a college student who brings in a kitten he finds on the streets. Then from Tokyo Pop, we've got an 18+ BL called Never Let Go, about a rich kid kicked out of his elite school and transferred to a mixed gender high school where everyone but the student council president is quick to befriend him. I wonder what, is going to happen between him and the student council president, And one more 18+ BL coming from Tokyo Pop, Send Them a Farewell Gift for the Lost Time. This is another single volume about a character who walks away from his 4-year relationship with his partner, but every time they run into one another, they wind up sleeping with each other before going right back into fighting. Is the relationship doomed to fail, or do they need to come at it from another angle? Now, before we move on to the 4th and penultimate week of the month, word from the sponsor of the video, Walt's Comic Shop. Now, this stuff, if you live in the States, we have plenty of options of where to shop. We've got Crunchyroll store, InStockTrades.com, Amazon, all kinds of different places, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. We have plenty of options of where we can get these books for great prices. But if you're outside of the States, it's not always as easy to find great retailers to buy your stuff from. And if you're in the EU, Walt's Comic Shop is a fantastic place for you to buy your manga releases from. Walt's Comic Shop has a wide selection of not just manga releases, but also Western comic releases from publishers like Marvel, DC, Image Comics, etc. So if you'd like to try out some stuff like Spider-Man or Batman, you can go ahead and get that from Walt's Comic Shop as well. They have fantastic service, great ratings online, and great shipping that you can count on their, you getting those books from them in great condition. So check out Walt's Comic Shop at waltscomicshop.com, or you can go into their brick and mortar store located in Berlin, Germany. And if you use the code TheOmnibusCollector at checkout, you'll get free shipping on your first order of €40 or more being shipped within the EU. Now, moving on to the 23rd, the penultimate week of this month, we start off with a new one from Tokyo Pop, Captain Laserhawk, a Blood Dragon remix, Crushing Love. This is a prequel to the Netflix animated series that came out a few months ago, featuring alter egos of various Ubisoft characters. I know Rayman's in there. I haven't watched it myself, but I do know that Rayman's in there. Before leaving the oppressive Eden Mega Corporation to join a band of rebel outcasts, Dolph Laserhawk uses VR tech to relive his memories of his love affair with criminal mastermind Alex Taylor. Moving forth, we get from 7 Seas, My Boss is a Giant. He manages my every need with enormous skill, the complete collection. This is an all-in-one spicy workplace rom-com about Natsumi and her boss Samejima, who confesses his feelings for her. She's overwhelmed seeing the vulnerable side of this giant of a man, but is excited to see more of it. So if you are into spicy rom-coms, this is going to be one for you to pick up. All 300+ pages in one place. Also from 7 Seas, we've got Modern Dungeon Capture starting with broken skills. 4 years ago, dungeons suddenly appeared all over the world, sparking conflict for the resources within. A salaryman named Mizuki arrives at his new workplace to discover it's been transformed into one of these dungeons. He enters the dungeon to rescue anyone who may be stuck inside, realizing it's a dungeon straight out of a video game. Mizuki finds a fairy in the dungeon and, using his new mysterious skill book, saves her from being eaten by goblins. He then sets out along with the fairy to clear out all of these modern dungeons. This is based on a light novel, by the way. And then we get Higurashi When They Cry Meguri. The next few are going to be from Yen Press, by the way. This is a new Higurashi series which takes Rika and Satoko to St. Lucia Academy. Rika begins to fall in with a group of refined young ladies, making Satoko feel isolated. The gap between the two friends continues to widen, leading Satoko to desperately do the unthinkable. This will be 4 volumes in total. Side note, I'm not really familiar enough with the Higurashi franchise, but I know that there are 3 pre-Higurashi Go single volume arcs that have never been released in English. Currently Destroyed, Healing Heart, and Daytime Breakdown. And I'm just putting that out there to say if anyone knows why those 3 have not been released in English, let me know. Because like I said, I'm not super familiar with the franchise enough. I've read a little bit, but I'm not familiar enough to know why those haven't been released in English. Anyway, moving on, the next one from Yen Press is Witch Life in a Micro Room. This one follows 2 C-rank witches, Madge and Lilia, who scrape by doing bottom-of-the-barrel jobs so that they can afford their 99-square-foot apartment and cabbage for dinner, but they are getting serious about wanting to improve their lives so they can afford a pet, grimoires, and meat. Then we've got Bride of the Barrier Master. Hana is from a branch family to one of the 5 barrier-weaving magical clans who protect and support Japan. However, she's always an afterthought to her parents compared to her talented twin sister. Her true potential awakens at 15, and she decides to keep her powers a secret from everyone, including her family, so she can live a peaceful life. However, the head of the elite Ichinomiya clan is looking for a bride and has his eyes on her. And then we've got 2 final volumes coming from Yen Press this month. Words Bubble Up Like Soda Pop Volume 3 and The Deer King Volume 2. So if you're a fan of either of those movies, these manga adaptations are both coming to an end, and with just 3 volumes and 2 volumes respectively, pretty easy things to want to pick up. And next we go into the final week of January, just 2 new releases to talk about here. First up is the second Cells at Work omnibus from Kodansha, collecting volumes 4 through 6. That does wrap up the original Cells at Work series. And they haven't mentioned if they're going to do any of the other Cells at Work titles in Omnibus Edition. The biggest one, of course, would be Cells at Work Black that has, I believe, 8 volumes total. So as of now, we're done with the Cells at Work Omnibus line. Then we've got Easygoing Territory Defense by the Optimistic Lord coming from 7 Seas. This is a fantasy isekai based on the light novel of the same name about the son of a noble who remembers his past life as a salaryman in Japan at just 2 years old. He's considered a child prodigy until he displays production magic at 8 years old because his family favors offensive magic, and this means his crafting skills are considered useless in battle and he's banished to a tiny country town. With his worthless magic, can he improve the fortunes of his little village? We'll have to tune in to find out. So that's everything that I'm talking about for the month of January. A lot of really cool stuff that I'm very excited about. A lot of new series starting that I've been really anticipating. So let me know in the comments down below what you're excited about picking up as far as everything I mentioned in this video, and let me know what stuff you're picking up in January that I did not mention in this video. And if there's something that you're curious about now that you didn't know about before watching this, let me know in the comments. I'm always curious to hear what I can help turn people onto. With that, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was informative and entertaining, and I hope that you'll consider hitting that subscribe button and tuning into the upcoming videos that I have throughout this month and throughout the rest of this new year. And if you're returning, you know that I appreciate you every time you come and spend time with me, and I will see all of you on the next one. Peace out.